except ostriches and ostrich hunters. The Iblis Stone. It sounded ominous. It sounded powerful. If the Emperor was searching for it, it must be dangerous. And so, Bernardo went ostrich hunting.
So let's see how this turns out, because this is the last section of choices.
Every child could sing verses about the Sky Ripper, but ancient codices held hints of other things. A stone that ate souls, a ruby that drank blood, a jewel only a righteous man could give away. Were all these things the Iblis Stone? Long hidden in a buried temple? Another ancient item that was only resurfacing now? Drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals? The air here tasted bitter. The steps were too tall for a person. The entire place felt restless, like it had been vexed to nightmare under the dust, waiting for its hour to come around at last. The Ravens were already here, cawing in frustration. They were still searching for a way in. Good. And he hadn't come too late.
I'm actually getting really mad at what this is doing. The running disability seems to happen after longer fights. I hate this walking glitch. It's so freaking annoying. Hello. Oh, that's an ice sword. Nope. This walking glitch is annoying. I will get there eventually, maybe. I don't know. Is there nowhere to go over here? Walking glitch, stop hating me.
Cannon trap.
Ow.
Who kept these things loaded anyway?
Maybe I can avoid the
Is
stupid
the game
cannon.
legit?
What do you mean is the game legit? What? Okay. Interesting. The more I play today, the glitchier this game has become at some points.
Running out of ideas. Zenobia loved him to death. The Sky Ripper destroyed everything. And Latino, that filthy traitor. Using a stone named for an evil god seemed unwise. But what else was there?
Life fun lol.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun when it doesn't glitch like it is currently. Fuck you and your stupid... Things were simpler before this stupid glitch started happening. Yeah. This is like the only thing that I don't like about the game is this weird glitch that started happening today. Luckily I can still dash, so it doesn't make it as bad and it speeds up during combat. I also got a lot of cool abilities. Only thing that's kinda about it is it's spam. You have to spam X square to get to work.
The Ravens at least could not get past this point. Obviously the temple builders knew how to deal with tomb raiders.
Can't wait to get out of this area.
Renato hated cannon traps. Also, who reloaded these things anyway? He never figured that part out.
And here's the Iblis stone.
It was a
This is gonna go horribly.
purest blackness. It reflected no light, like a void made solid. Nervous.
Let's see, pick it up. I'd be nervous too.
Time for work.
Have fun.
Who said that? It was the stone. Eager. Thirsty.
Oh, evil forces are
That
evil.
seemed tempting and terribly wrong.
Right
Zenobia
now,
was the
there's no-
Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch. But they had been close once, and Renato wasn't sure he really wanted to be Emperor. Why not capture the core of
Do you
Skyrim
caught?
instead?
Hudekata.
Was the eye of a lost god torn out by the transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon?
Okay, so I did read what
She
you'd said, right?
discovered anxiously.
But yeah, I do play Call of Duty. Yeah. So do I kill the person or do I deal with the poison? I'll go with the poison for now. I don't want to kill her just yet.
Being told what to do. Wasn't that why he joined the rebellion? Wasn't that why he'd refused to be a soldier? He'd agreed to come on board only.
Well, I'm gonna remove this because I don't want it splattered with water from the sink.
once. The stone felt a bit clingy. The sage Calaveras had told him where to find the Sky Ripper, a weapon capable of challenging the gods. Even without its armature, the core would still possess great power. He would go there.
Is it kinda like Fable?
Sort of. I didn't play a lot of Fable, so I don't have a really
The
good
moment he landed
comparison.
the Farfarer, Reynardo had a rare feeling of regret. It's not too late, he thought. It could turn... He frowned. He didn't want to kill Zenobia. Technically, she was the enemy, but they'd been at Swordfu school together. They'd never been lovers, but somehow they'd been closer. She'd told him every secret about herself. Except the biggest one. That she was the Emperor's daughter. No. Kill Zenobia. Whispered. There was something sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time. Did Portal go through another universe? If so, could the lost god use one of them to return from exile? The thought made him shiver. The stone hadn't lied about what it could do for him. With each raven he cut down, a jolt of power flowing into his arm. You're weak, whispered the stone. The core will kill you. Are you afraid of it? No, don't be ridiculous. It chuckled. Stable. If a poison you I just carry it, and if you try to use it, it will explode catastropically. Reynardo did not trust rocks that fought in his head. He went onwards. As he approached the core, the stone became hysterical. He had a sudden vision of plunging his gauntlet into the core and dying in anguish. That wasn't his vision, was it? The stone had sent him its darkest fears, hadn't it? He had a sudden impulse to do exactly that. He raised his right fist and plunged it into the core. There was a rush of light. He thought he could hear the stone screaming. And then he passed out. When Reynardo came to, the core was gone. But the Iblis stone was no longer black, but glowing with a blue light. And it was silent. I can't hear you, he sang out, and you. It didn't answer. Ha, he said. He had defeated the demonic gem with the power of his mind. He felt invincible. It was time to attack the Imperial outpost on the Nexus. Take the battle to the enemy. But among the huge crystals, there was also an observatory. A wise man would probably ask the scientists exactly what he had first. How wise was he? As the Farfarer made its way toward the Nexus, Reynardo watched sparks fly out of the core. The Iblis stone sucked them in hungrily. You'd think the stone would want this kind of power, wouldn't it? Thought Reynardo. Well, the scientists would explain it all. This time, Reynardo was sure he'd figured out how to use the core safely. See? He'd trusted his gut, and it had worked out. That's what it meant to be a hero. To ignore the naysayers and the odd-makers, and do what you knew was right, and have it turn out to be the right thing. Well, he wasn't worried. Once he got to the observatory, the scientist toads could explain it. Then he could carry the war into the enemy's camp and destroy them all. Oh dear, he was getting a little bloodthirsty, wasn't he? Bernardo had never felt better in his life. Normally, a battle would wear him down and he would need a night's sleep. Now he felt like he could go all night and all day. He felt like people were cheering him on, and he could practically hear their applause as he slew one raven after another. The Iblis Stone and the Skyripper Core. Two artifacts from the time of legends. Bernardo was becoming a legendary hero, wasn't he? He had enough power to save the rebellion, but he had to understand this power, so he would not misuse it.
Haven't you heard? Goth is over.
Bernardo had been to a dungeon once where all the chests had teeth and eyes. It had been a short visit. The toads at the observatory measured the stone with their occult devices. I fed it the core of Skyripper, explained Bernardo. No more feed blood and souls. But the core is not an unlimited energy source, said one toad. Another said,
There's a feedback loop, you see, which could overload the stone. Yeah, the stone doesn't actually feed on souls,
claimed a third.
but on pain of killing another sentient being. If you can truly be at peace with yourself, it would not overload.
This was all very confusing. At peace. Yes, the mountains were peaceful and quiet, but he now had the power to turn the tides. He should report to the Rebellion Council and prepare for the decisive battle.
I've done the pacifist route this way.
One thing he understood from all the Toad arguments. Maybe the stone did not feed on blood, or souls, or rage. It fed on empathy. It fed on the pain he felt when he put an end to another being's existence. Even if that other being was a raven intent on killing him. If he could find peace, then he could use the power of the Iblis Stone without being taken over by its evil. The mountains. He would go to the mountains. He could find peace there. Unfortunately, the mountains were not empty. There were ravens everywhere. No matter. He had to fight, yes, but he didn't have to be angry. Parry, dodge, slash, and breathe. Yes, focus on the rhythm, the dancing, not on the blood or the raven's paw as they died. It was working. He wasn't feeling those dark jolts of eldritch energy. He wasn't feeding the Iblis Stone. stone was still silent. His mind was his own, and his heart too. He bore them no ill will, these ravens. They were doing their job. They were expressing their nature. Dance, whirl, parry, jab, and move. It was all so simple, wasn't it? Something was missing. He didn't feel truly at peace. Wait. Wasn't this near where Calaveras lived? The sage would help him figure it all out. Iblis Stone, silenced by the Sky Ripper's core, had given Renato enough power to challenge the Imperial fleet. But what Renato was seeking was inner peace. The rebellion was on the verge of extinction, but it would have to wait. At the end of the mountain path, he found the wise Calaveras in his workshop. "Do you fix souls or only artifacts?" he asked the sage. "Does your soul need fixing?" asked the sage. "I've been killing a lot of ravens lately," he told the sage. You're a fox," said Calaveras. "And to kill birds is part of your nature. Take joy in it. I mean, I might as well worry about eating flies. Would you like a fly?" It was true. That's what he had forgotten. The joy. Now he was ready for the final battle. The Farfarer cut through the clouds. The air had never felt so sweet since he was a child. There it was. The dreaded Imperial fleet. He could smell wet hemp rope. Wood and tar and ravens. Even the fleet smelt good somehow. He was ready. He was ready. Renato had it all squared away in his head. He would kill the Emperor.
Robert, hello.
Well,
Hi.
he had gone mad. He was trying to invoke the lost
I've
god
decided the next character that's going to be my main in Mortal Kombat.
That was a
Who?
setback, but the victims had spoken
Here's a
to
hint.
Renato.
Besides Scorpion and Sub-Zero, he was the most well-known character in Mortal Kombat 1.
Anger. Renato
I
could
wouldn't
not
know.
afford anger. It was
Oh, what's up, Cooper?
That made him
So I'm learning a new character.
out of his mind.
Die. Die, die. Just
Yeah, man.
every
And he's
thing.
good too.
Die. I'm getting pissed off with having to kill so many of these guys.
Here's a hint. He has the same kind of cancels that Ethereal Molina gets.
You're not helping at all. I really have no clue of any characters. I know like nothing, you know that, right? And he left because you're talking Mortal Kombat, or because he wanted to play something, I don't know. Maybe he had other friends.
Actually, he might have that type issues.
Why? He was talking to us just fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, what happened?
PlayStation.
Thought about it, and he had so much more
Weird.
time to think about it now that he was not worrying about the battle. Killing the Emperor would not change anything. Another would take his place.
Anyways, I am learning Displacer Raiden.
As the Speaker of the Rebel Council, and power would corrupt them too, and death would make grief. And grief would lead to
In the corner, I can get 39% for one bar.
reject the violence. Reject the desire to create violence.
And mid-screen, let's see what I can get. Mid-screen, I can get 33.
His mother never let him wave his sword around at home. He guessed he was still compensating for that.
Everybody uses Thunder God, though. He has a true vortex. Yeah, no, it's not even one bar. I mean, each section of the vortex doesn't do very much, 17%. But if you want to spin the bar, you can get like up to like 30. But 17 is meterless. Yeah, but his restand it's actually a string. It's back 1-4. Is his restand. It kicks them in the gut and they stand back up. It's really good. Let's see what his meter burn teleport is. Yeah, the meter burn one is a 1 frame. It's 7 frame recovery. His normal teleport's 11 frames. That's ridiculous how fast that teleport is. Like, it lets you combo off of his grab. It lets you combo into his grab from normally
They're talking so annoying. I don't want to be rude to them, but when I'm trying to listen to a game,
The world would spin and the wheel would revolve whether he strove against it or not. What he had to do was nothing. He had attained enlightenment. He sat down, adopted a full lotus position, and began to meditate. And all around him, the warriors stopped fighting too. They knew. They could feel his enlightenment. They gave up fighting, dropped their weapons, and became his disciples.
stream.
No, just kidding. The nearest raven stabbed him with a sword and then chopped off his head.
Of course.
Might not have thought this through properly. Thought Renado's head as it rolled around the deck and died.
Well,
He should go back to some of the choices he'd faced before. Maybe there were new paths that had opened up.
oh, I didn't learn the
Like
truth
those
of that
doors
one.
He was opening up all over the map that took him to new treasures and around his enemies. But he'd learned another truth. The Iblis Stone was evil. It would try to corrupt anyone who used it.
4-4. I don't wanna. If I've unlocked all the truths, then I just have to get the stories.
The book's pages fluttered to the beginning
Just
once
get the
again.
stories, I guess.
Faster than before, and he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced.
No
Renata
scared
knew
of her.
that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis Stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing.
I'm not going that way then.
Renato had a pretty
That's
strong
what that
suspicion
means.
that
So that's
Lapino
how
betrayed
to
the
get the
rebellion.
key.
And he had a
Not
gut
doing
feeling
that one yet.
He needed to use that to his advantage. The island was windswept dead.
Let's just get this done with. I want to get all the stories. I'm a completionist. My bad.
Every child could sing verses about the Sky Ripper, but ancient codices held hints of other things. A stone that ate souls, a ruby that drank blood, a jewel only a righteous man could give away. Were all these things the Iblis Stone? Long hidden in a buried temple? Another ancient item that was only resurfacing now? Drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals? Really like the sound of soaring in the air. The ravens were already here, cawing in frustration. They were still searching for a way in. Good. Then he hadn't come too late. Every day he was getting better and better. But was this fruit local? That's what Renato wanted to know.
Okay. That's just kinda random. I only need this one for health.
go grey. You know what? Don't worry about it. There had to be some way to use the Iblis stone. It was old, wasn't it? People were so much cleverer now. And Renato was pretty sure he was cleverer than most people. How to deal with Tomb Raiders. This wasn't actually such a hard puzzle, come to think of it.
How?
It was a stone of the purest blackness.
Blackness.
It reflected no light.
No light.
Like a void made solid. It was the stone. Eager. Thirsty.
I wouldn't want to be emperor.
That seemed tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch. But they had been close once. And he had a sneaking suspicion the gem would try to control him. Why not capture the core of Sky Ripper instead? It was the eye of a lost god, torn out by the transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. It's the core, said the stone anxiously.
But even though Renato knew how evil the gem was, he had a clever plan.
Ooh, there's a new way. I am going to go the middle way still,
Bothered him. He hated
because I need to do all the options. I forgot if there was one in between these two. I think it was just going and killing the outposts. But I have to go see the scientist. And then go to British. Sorry, I'm playing completionist, so I'm going to try to get everything done.
The moment he landed the Farfarer, Renato had a rare feeling of regret. It's not too late, he thought. He could turn around and sail for Zenobia's island. He frowned. Wait a minute. He didn't want to kill Zenobia, did he? Sure, technically she was the enemy, but they'd been at Sword Fu school together. They'd never been lovers, but somehow they'd been closer. She'd told him every secret about herself. Except the biggest one. That she was the Emperor's daughter.
I have
Whispered the
osteoporosis.
stone.
You suck. I'm muting you for a little bit.
There was something
Mm-hmm,
sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time. The stone hadn't lied about what it could do for him. With each raven he cut down, he felt a jolt of power flowing into his arm. You're weak, whispered the stone.
Are you afraid of it? It chuckled. But it's unstable. It'll poison you, so I just carry it. And if you try to use it, it will explode catastrophically. Renato did not trust rocks that talked in his head. He went onwards. As he approached the core, the stone became hysterical.
Nobody can give me peace. Yay, fuck.
He felt invincible. It was time to attack the Imperial outpost on the Nexus. Take the battle to the enemy. But among the huge crystals, there was also an observatory. A wise man would probably ask the scientists exactly what he had first. How wise was he? As the Farfarer... See? He'd trusted his gut, and it had worked out. That's what it meant to be a hero. To ignore the naysayers and the odd-makers, and do what you knew was right, and have it turn out to be the right thing. Well, he wasn't worried. Once he got to the observatory, the scientist Toads could explain it. Then he could carry the war into the enemy's camp and destroy them all. Dear, he was getting a little bloodthirsty, wasn't he? Renato had never felt better in his life. Normally, a battle would wear him down and he would need a night's sleep. Now he felt like he could go all night and all day. He felt like people were cheering him on, and he could practically hear their applause as he slew one raven after another. The Iblis Stone and the Skyripper Core. Two artifacts from the time of legends. Renato was becoming a legendary hero, wasn't he? He had enough power to save the rebellion, but he had to understand his power, so he would not misuse it. How far exactly did these things travel?
The toads at the observatory measured the stone with their occult devices. I fed it the core of Sky Ripper, explained Renato. No more feed me blood and souls.
But the core is not an unlimited energy source.
The stone doesn't actually feed on souls, claimed the third. But on pain of killing another sentient being. If you can truly be at peace with yourself, it would not overload.
This was all very confusing. At peace? Yes, the mountains were peaceful and quiet, but he now had the power to turn the tides. He should report to the Rebellion Council and prepare for the decisive battle.
Renato couldn't make sense of anything the toads said, and listening to them argue made him restless. The Iblis Stone had made him a power in his own right. The core had kicked the Iblis Stone out of his head by filling it with more power than it could eat. It was time to meet the leadership of the rebellion. It was time to go to the ruins, where they had hidden their secret base.
This is the first time I actually said where the secret base was. It was just a location. Or a map.
He was ready for anything the Ravens could throw at him. His sword felt ready too. It seemed to know what he wanted most. Funny about librarians. People thought of them as fussy clerks who shushed them for talking. But the librarians thought of their books as sacred, and themselves as priests in a temple of knowledge. Who knew they were willing to die to protect it? The Iblistone wasn't pestering him anymore. Good. He didn't want to chit-chat, not with anybody. He didn't want to think about Zenobia or Lapino. He just wanted to fight. This was almost fun. Pain of killing another sentient being? What was that toad talking about anyway? He felt no pain, only pleasure as each filthy raven fell by his sword and the stone glowed brighter and brighter. And all the while, those voices were cheering him on, like he was in the arena, winning bout after bout.
That terrier.
The long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good. He slew and slew across the ruins and into the labyrinth that hid the secret rebel base. He was surprised not to see any defenders or even any of the council toads. When he reached the council chambers, there were still no toads, only filthy ravens. "Stop him! He's gone mad!" one raven shouted until he had hacked them all down. There was not a single toad anywhere. No doubt they'd all been taken prisoner, so it was up to him to take revenge upon the Imperial fleet. But where had they taken the council? It couldn't be good that the Empire had not only found the secret rebel base, but killed or captured everyone there. No matter. He was on a roll. He headed full speed towards the Imperial fleet. He would be the fox who took down 100 warships. He charged.
I think I went cuckoo.
The Imperial fleet was huge and deadly, but he was deadlier. The crowd was cheering him on. He could practically hear it. Reynardo, the hero of the rebellion.
Oh god. I am playing in the mind of a madman. That's all that this could be explained as.
The fort was heavily guarded. It must go someplace they really didn't want it to go. Just getting warmed up. As he slew his way across the fleet, Reynardo thought he could hear a small voice whispering in his ear. "Look at your gauntlet, you idiot," it said. "Oh, for heaven's sake," he thought. "Can't I be alone in my own head? Look at the stone." "I'm busy," he told the voice. "Talk later." "Then it will be too late," cried the voice. "Don't be so bloody thick. Piss off," he told the voice and kept up his slaying. Soon he'd confront the Emperor. Funny that this whole war had come about because the Emperor feared death. And now it was coming for him. There was some sort of lesson there, wasn't there? There was the Emperor. Renato cut down his elite guard. The exalted Toad cowered fearfully. He had sought to evade death and only made death come to him faster. Renato savored the moment. And then, too quick, it was over. He stood over the dead Emperor.
Death to tyranny! He shouted. Go, House, go!
Zenobia stepped out of the shadows. You have to stop, she said. You've killed everyone. Our ravens, your rebels. You murdered the whole rebel council.
What? Oh, the Ravens killed the council. Yeah, big idiot. They don't even know what the secret base is. Shouted Lapino, who was with her for some reason.
Look at the stone, said Zenobia. It was black as night. Blacker.
But I fed it the core, said Renato. It was glowing.
Well,
Who needs the core? He said, and he attacked.
Zenobia conjured her best, and Lapino hopped around like a mad rabbit, but he killed them both easily.
I am unstoppable,
He orated at the blood-soaked walls.
I alone shall be emperor.
The tiny voice inside him screamed,
That doesn't even sound like you big fanny. The stone has stolen your mind.
but he ignored it. Who listens to voices in their heads anyway? Madmen, that's who.
Oh, again? But he already had all the secrets he needed. He was sure of that. He must have not used them the right way. What was the best, worst mistake he could make? Probably trusting that traitor Lapino. The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again. Faster than before? And he fell.
The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer.
Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis Stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it. To take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. And he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage.
The island was windswept desert. No one went there except ostriches and ostrich hunters.
The Iblis Stone. It would whisper promises in his ear, offer him power for blood.
Every child could sing verses about the Sky Ripper, but ancient codices held hints of other things. A stone that ate souls, a ruby that drank blood, a jewel only a righteous man could give away.
Were all these things the Iblis Stone? Long hidden in the buried temple? Another ancient item that was only resurfacing now? Drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals? Ravens were already here, cawing in frustration. They were still searching for a way in. Good. And he hadn't come too late. Time to turn it into something he could use.
Hey, what do ravens say when they die? Never mind. I'll wait.
There had to be some way to use the Iblis stone. It was old, wasn't it? People are so much cleverer now. And Renato was pretty sure he was cleverer than most people. Cool. Wish I could do that. The Ravens at least could not get past this point. Obviously the temple builders knew how to deal with Tomb Raiders. It was a stone of the purest blackness. It reflected no light, like a void made solid. Nervous, he picked it up. I can make you mighty. Who said that? Give me blood. It was the stone, eager, thirsty. That seemed tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch. But they had been close once, and he had a sneaking suspicion the gem would try to control him. Why not capture the core of Skyripper instead? It was the eye of a lost god torn out by the Transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. "It's the core," said the stone anxiously. But even though Renato knew how evil the gem was, he had a clever plan for dealing with it. The stone bothered him. He hated being told what to do. Wasn't that why he joined the rebellion? Wasn't that why he'd refused to be a soldier? He'd agreed to come on board only if he could freelance. The stone felt a bit clingy, and he had a feeling it did not have his best interests at heart. The sage Calaveras had told him where to find the Skyripper, a weapon capable of challenging the gods. Even without its armature, the core would still possess great power. He would go there. The moment he landed the Farfarer, Reynardo had a rare feeling of regret. It's not too late, he thought. He could turn around and sail for Zenobia's island. He frowned. Wait a minute. He didn't want to kill Zenobia, did he? Sure, technically she was the enemy, but they'd been at Sword Fu school together. They'd never been lovers, but somehow they'd been closer. She'd told him every secret about herself. Except the biggest one. That she was the Emperor's daughter. No. Kill Zenobia. There was something sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time.
If only you had some sort of gun that's made for it.
The stone hadn't lied about what it could do for him. With each raven he cut down, he felt a jolt of power flowing into his arm. "You're weak," whispered the stone. "The core will kill you." "Are you afraid of it?" "Don't be ridiculous," it chuckled. "The fact it is stable, yet poisonous, but just carry it, and if you try to use it, it will explode catastrophically." Reynardo did not trust rocks that talked in his head. He went onwards.
I hear you're the dead, silent type.
As he approached the core, the stone became hysterical. He had defeated the demonic gem with the power of his mind. He felt invincible. It was time to attack the Imperial outpost on the Nexus. Take the battle to the enemy. But among the huge crystals, there was also an observatory. A wise man would probably ask the scientists exactly what he had first. How wise was he?
Not wise this time.
As the Farfarer sailed towards the Nexus, Bernardo wondered if the core had been created to silence the stone, or even to feed its hunger. Well, honestly, he didn't care. He felt terrific, and he appreciated the quiet inside his head.
The Nexus was infested with ravens, but that didn't bother Reynardo. With each death, the converted Iblis stone in his gauntlets glowed brighter, and he felt stronger.
Wow. He was getting a bit bloodthirsty, wasn't he?
Well, he wasn't one. He was a warrior. They're supposed to be bloodthirsty.
Well, that's not good. Kill all the ravens? It makes me feel like they're innocent. They probably are.
Yeah, I bet it does.
out. The core, absorbed in the stone, was doing its job perfectly. Renato could feel a little eldritch jolt every time he downed a raven, but then it flowed into the glowing stone the way water flows down a riverbed. It all felt perfectly natural, as if all his life, this was what he had been meant to do. Renato tore through the last remaining guards at the outpost like hot coffee through snow. There was a far speaker toad here. He called the council speaker. He knew she would be thrilled. And she was. She wanted him to come back to base. They had plans to discuss, and a medal to give him. A large, golden medal. Great, said Renato. Let's talk about who else I can kill. Then the far speaker croaked again.
Hello, Renato,
It said.
If you get sick of slaughtering second-rate birds in the Nexus, I'm waiting for you in the mountains.
Zenobia. She missed him. She loved him. Once she saw how awesome he'd become, maybe she'd join him. They'd kiss and... Well, if she did refuse for some reason, he was no match for him now. Zenobia was taunting him. No doubt she hoped to lure him into a trap, but it didn't matter, did it? He could fight his way out of any trap. He was invincible. This was gonna be fun.
Well, I feel like I'm gonna die quickly here. She's like, yeah, murder me in the back. Well, she pretends love. That's probably what's going to happen for this one.
So where was this ambush? Renato couldn't wait. At Sword Fu school, she'd always studied a little harder, practiced a little longer, complained really a lot less. And then she'd become a sorceress. He'd always known he'd have to take her by surprise or not at all. But this would be a surprise indeed. Do we have to stop?
I think I'm gonna make this the last run for tonight, and then I'm getting off for a while
Every time he cut
of
one
broadcasting.
down, the stone glowed a little brighter. In fact, everything glowed a little brighter. Look how white the snow was, and how very blue the raven blood was. Seriously, where was she? He wanted to try his new strength against hers. fancy. He found a source of great power. But instead of joining with the rebels, he was on a fool's errand the Emperor's daughter had sent him on. The rebels were preparing a last-ditch attack against the Imperial fleet, counting on Renato to show up in time. Would he be too...
At the end of the path was Zenobia. I thought you were going to ambush me, he said, a little put out. I owe you better than that.
I know how you feel about me, love. You want to join up with me, don't you? You got to admit, we'd make a great team. Of all the arrogant, ham-handed, half-assed, half-witted... Oh, come on. What else are you here for?
That, she said, as a dropship poured a bucket of green liquid on his head. Drowsy gas. You can't stop me with drowsy gas, Zenobia. My power's too strong. Zenobia? Where was she?
When he awoke, staring up at the sky, Zenobia looked down at him, brooding.
I probably ought to kill you, but that'd be a bit tawdry, wouldn't it? She was tossing the glowing stone from paw to paw. This is pretty.
Zenobia!
He shouted, and then he fell back into sleep. On the Farfarer, Renato drank his favorite headache remedy. But it did no good. Zenobia had beaten him again. Oh, he really should have listened to the Iblastone in the first place instead of messing around with the core. He had a bad feeling about the upcoming fight. But what kind of hero misses the final battle?
Renato was bruised and tired. He wasn't looking forward to killing ravens. Didn't even seem scary. It felt like a chore. Like sweeping the practice room at Swordfu School, which he'd done his best to leave for Zenobia whenever he could. What would she do with the glowing Iblastone?
Stop! 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 Fight! Stop! Stop it! Stop! Ah! No! You can't go! Stop! Okay.
Portal led right into the middle of the fleet. It was a glaring weakness in the defense.
so unfair. He'd wanted to protect himself, protect the world from the Iblestone's hunger for blood and souls. And all he'd done is get mugged. Next time he owned a supernatural artifact that wanted tribute, he'd serve it champagne and caviar. Zenobia was cleaning blood off her sword and weeping. It's so hungry. I can't stop killing, she said. But I fed it the core of the Sky Ripper, and now it's hungry again. She wept. It was true. The Iblestone was black again, a void that seemed to suck all the light out of the sky. Take it from me, Renato, while you still can. Okay. I'll take it, he said. Yes, he thought. This is what it means to be a hero. To save the soul of even his old enemy when it looked like all was lost. He stepped forward to accept the sword from her outstretched hand. She flipped the sword, and the blade went into his gut. As the Iblestone sucked his soul into its infinite darkness, he could vaguely hear a voice, something like Zenobia's chuckle. Sucker. Oh! Again? But he already had all the secrets he needed. He was sure of that. He must have not used them the right way. What was the best, worst mistake he could make? Probably traitor Lepino.
Well, that's gonna be it for tonight.